Alrighty, we're going to go have some fun tonight. Welcome to my daily broadcast. My name is Barry Selby. This is my daily Facebook Live. Get to that in a second. Quick introduction. I am a best-selling author, speaker, and relationship attraction expert. I'm also a passionate champion for the divine feminine. I help strong, successful women find balance in love, life, and business. And tonight I'm going to play... Let's go deep, shall we? This came back yesterday as an idea, and after watching watching the Golden Globes last night. Okay, sorry, that's some fun tonight. For those of you who haven't seen me before, I do these daily Facebook Live talks. They're called Messages from the Masculine to Inspire the Feminine Heart. This is number 221, as in I've done these for a while. And this topic, I talked about something similar to this last August, which is basically don't be a dick. And that was in response to a relationship topic. This is a different one. So it starts with men don't be a dick and grow some balls, because what I'm really becoming clear about, and seeing some of the people's posts about the Golden Globes last night, as well as people who actually were at the Golden Globes last night, I have some bones to pick with people. But this is going to go much bigger than that. So if you're not interested in the whole Hollywood scene, don't worry about it. I'm not going to focus on that only. But I watched some really dick behavior with people reacting to... Sorry, let me rephrase that. I saw some really dick behavior with some men reacting to the Golden Globes last night. I actually saw one guy who I thought I respected really come down hard on Oprah. And I'm not going to start chanting on him for president, that sort of stuff. It's not about that. But he posted a picture of her with Harvey Weinstein years ago and made some comments. And my big frustration with this is well, no, I'll get to that in a second. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Let me rewind slightly. This happens, by the way, if you're watching my broadcast regularly, you know that I sort of go deeper and then over the map with where I'm going, and so to go with that flow. The piece I want to put on the table, though, there was something I saw in a post today as well that I didn't know if it's true or not. I don't remember from watching the Golden Globes last night. Is that none of the male award winners actually mentioned the Time's Up or the metoo conversation. Now, from purely observer point of view, I think every person who won an award last night was so worried about trying to get their speech in the time limit, they didn't think about any freestyle talking. The women did. That just speaks to women's presence of mind versus men's presence of mind, perhaps. So let me get to the core of this. How shall I phrase this? I've spoken before in many of my broadcasts about the evolution of masculine maturity or masculine development versus the immature masculine, which is the macho. Dickish behavior, and that's a technical term, a psychological term, I'm sure, is when men basically are acting dickishly. Let me qualify that better than that. Men who are basically either paying lip service to what's going on, which I saw some men doing last night, are oblivious and ignorant of other people, regardless of male or female, and particularly men who disregard, and override women. They fall in the dick category. So I'm just saying that's what I'm asking men not to be. Hollywood is in some ways the crucible, well, not that's probably the right word, maybe better yet say petri dish, of watching how men and women interact, because it's the one that is televised. So Hollywood has this way of presenting to us what is really a reflection and a magnifying glass, the way the society in this country works, and things like politics, corporations, etc. That's the benefit and also the price. Which means that when things get exposed, like they have been with the Me Too and the Time's Up conversations, it's shaken them to the core. I hope that because it has been a propagation from what we see there that expands the rest of the community and the population of this country, that it also shakes this country to the core. There's so much obvious things about that we can talk about. But let me just jump ahead to the other side, which is about men growing some balls. Because you may be wondering what I mean by that. Are you? Maybe you are. And thanks for the comments, by the way. What I mean by developing balls, for the men in the audience, and the women watching can corroborate on this as they choose to, is that being a dick, as I said before, is basically an egocentric, machismo, screw you, I'm doing it my way type energetic. Growing some balls means being responsible as a part of it. Men taking their role to take on the burden of ownership, of blame sometimes, of responsibility for what isn't working and for what is. It's easy to be the one saying, yeah, I did that when it goes great. But it's not as easy to go, I did that when it didn't go great. And with what's happening and being brought forward now, and especially because I would say probably the majority of men in the Hollywood arena as that microcosm are not ones that caused such pain and suffering to the women in Hollywood. Same as in the government, same as in corporations, same as in the country, there are many men who have not done anything to inflict on women. But what they haven't done either is step up for them. And this, I think, is where I'm getting more, not so much agitated, because this is what I'm talking about all the time. These 221 broadcasts are about this in one shape or other. Shaking? Okay. Let me try them again. Growing some balls means that we men stand up for our women, with our women, in support of our women, and against the men who are dicks. That's probably the best way of putting it. So I'm putting out a call in this sense to other men who are willing to say, you know what, I'm not going to turn a blind eye. Because I know, I've actually, yes, I got to say this. This stuff comes up and I've got to talk about it. I'm going to watch how I phrase this because I'm going to keep names out of the picture. I watched somebody I thought was a friend. I heard things about his behavior with his wife, who was in the middle of divorce. And I didn't say anything then, because it was not my space to at the time. But I noticed that right after that, he started calling somebody else and got married to them. That was less than 2 years ago. Now they're divorced again. This is his third or fourth marriage. But I did warn her friends of the new wife to keep an eye on her, to take care of her, to be careful, because they weren't seeing what I was seeing, which is a perpetuation of bad behavior. I'm looking back and realize I could have done it differently and better than I did. But I want to say this now. At least I said something, and I'm not saying that I was like, yeah, rah rah, I said something. But I'm getting really clear that I can no longer be quiet, in the sense that if women are at risk, particularly from other men, and I'm in the arena, or they're friends of mine, or I'm somewhere in the conversation, I cannot be silent. It's not appropriate, first of all, and it's not respectful. And as a man who has learnt deeply how much to respect women, if I don't say something, that's disrespectful. It's not just admitting it, it's being disrespectful, and that doesn't work. So what I'm saying to men out there to grow some balls, this is not a pretty conversation, is that there's a requirement in corporate world, in corporate culture, in social circles, especially in social circles actually. I'll talk about that one in a second. In the political arena, in other places too, is when a man steps cross over that line that is not respectful and is impacting women negatively, it's time to say something to the man, to other people, as is appropriate. Now, it's going to be challenging, I know, as a man, to talk to other men, especially with the physical energy of being safe to do so, and also being willing to say it as a truth, but it's about standing your ground. A lesson I learned in high school, after being bullied for 5 years, was that bullies are generally bags of wind. I turned around on one of the guys who was bullying me in the 5th year of high school, and I basically turned on him, and he ran away. If I'd known that in the first year, my whole high school would have been very different, but I reckon I found this out afterwards. So a lot of times this bully behavior is a very weak ego. So if you stand your ground in your truth, in your heart, with balls, they'll back down. Social circles, remind to that one. I didn't do it so well last time, so I'm going to do it better next time, and I'm going to say this again too, is hanging out with other men. It's tempting to go to a lower base level. It happens for men. We sort of get together with boys and we're like, oh yeah, rah, 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 grunt, grunt, grunt. And when women go by, sometimes men in that circle say things about those women going by that are inappropriate. I won't sit by that anymore. And I hope you won't either. Men, if you're in other circles of men, and some of your guys will say something or do something that is disrespectful to that woman walking by. Imagine that was your mother or your sister. Would you stand there and do nothing? It's time to say something. So this time's up conversation is not just for the women. It's not just for those who've been abused, because it's abused for men and for women. It's about us as men being in the conversation, being honest, being transparent, and being willing to stand with the women that we know and love and care about to make this a healthy conversation, to make this a change that's going to take care of everything. One thing last night, Cousin Daly was interviewing Eva Longaria, excuse me, and the other woman just went out of my head. And she gave the award to Oprah. It'll come back to me. They were talking, and Carson Daly said to Eva, "This is a powerful moment." And she said back to him, and she really was nice. It was really on the point. She said, "No, it's not a moment. It's a movement." And that was maybe one of the most telling moments of the evening for me, because I recognized that there's a distinct lack of awareness still out there, first of all. And secondly, this is something that is starting. Not done, starting, just getting going. So this conversation is just getting going, and it's now January 8th. We're barely into January. So I'm looking forward to, and I hope you are too, a very transformational year for the way that men and women treat each other. And the responsibility that we both take, both genders, for our own ownership of space, of health, of autonomy, and of respect. There was a thought in there that went by, and let's see if it comes back again. Bear with me on this one. This one's been more of a rant, I understand, and that was kind of why the title is what it is, because I wanted to speak about this on the record, on Facebook Live, to be real, transparent, authentic, and everything else, because I want more people to get this message. If you know anybody who should watch this, please share it with them. This might be a wake-up call for other men too, and other women. This is something that is starting, and if you've been watching my broadcast for the last 13 months, I have been on this topic for a while. So maybe I was added to the conversation. I hope I am. And I definitely will be involved in this conversation as much as it needs to be talked about and acted on and transformed. Okay, that's what it was. The thought that came through me. A few years back, I was accused of sexual harassment. Totally inaccurate. So I'm just going to speak about this now, just put it on the table too, because there's a piece about stepping up and speaking up, about time's up, and all this thing about let's tell the truth, where it's about telling the truth and not making accusations. So I just want to say to you out there watching this, watch when things are called out in the news and the media about certain people. If you know it's true, or you've found, if it's a majority of opinion, it's one thing. But I got accused, and I can tell you the story just to quickly frame it in place. At my spiritual center where I go, I was accused by somebody there. She told the powers that be that I was sexually harassing her. I hadn't been anywhere close to her, but what I found out afterwards from a friend of mine who had actually interacted is that she was jealous that I wasn't hugging her like I was hugging other people. So she was reverse sexually she was actually harassing me for not doing something she wanted to her. It was actually a blessing in disguise on so many levels, because I got freed up to finish my book, because I was so immersed in that volunteering role I was doing. I didn't do anything on my book, so I would actually say thank you to her, because her getting me fired from that ministry, which I didn't get fired as a volunteer, enabled me to finish my book. So there's a blessing in there too, but at the same time, it was so out of alignment. So I have a what's the word I'm looking for? I have a sensitivity, that's the word, for people who are falsely accused as well, whether it's men or women. So this conversation that's growing, this movement that's happening, this transformation that's going out in the world, where men are, please, growing some balls to step up and speak the truth for themselves, as are women, to support each other, is that we stay true to ourselves. We speak the truth and don't move into there's the piece. Don't move into a mob mentality, because it's very tempting to start saying we're going to stone everybody who makes a mistake. But if someone gets wrongly accused, as in false imprisonment type thing, it can get out of hand too. So I'm just saying, do this boldly, do this clearly, and from a place of compassion for yourselves, but also a place of understanding what's going on, so that what's happening is truthful. There are going to be people who are going to be nailed to crosses, metaphorically speaking, for what they did or didn't do. It's going to happen especially in the more famous roles, so in entertainment and in the government particularly. Some of those may be false targets. They may be shot by accident in a way. So I'm asking you to watch that for yourselves too. This talk, this thing here I'm doing right now is probably not the end of this conversation for me. and it's not the first one I've talked about this stuff too. Thank you for watching, by the way. I appreciate you being with me in this download and expression, because it's been on my mind for a while, and I wanted to get this out, especially after last night. There's a lot that is yet to be talked about. And if you've been through something that has been impacting you because of the way you were treated, I definitely invite you to step up, speak the truth, and get support. And if you need support, reach out to me. Working with my clients, because most of my clients are women, in coaching with them, I've had this exposure to this conversation and help them heal this sort of experience in the past as well. So I know from a second-hand experience with them that there's a distinct betrayal that's been happening over the culture for a long time. So this might be a shift, it might be a change. So you're very welcome. Thank you for the input. Thanks, Carl. I appreciate it. So let me do a recap of what this is, for those who haven't watched me before. This is my daily Facebook Live. I do this every day. That's why it's called Daily Facebook Live. Hello. This is number 221, as in I've done a lot of these. They are on my Facebook wall, my business page, rather, as well as on my website, which you go to the video blog on barryselby.com. You can watch them all there. And also on my YouTube channel, which is also Barry Selby. I tend to have my name everywhere in social media, just so I keep my own personality, as it were. If you have any questions or thoughts, you can add comments below. I will definitely respond to you afterwards. And if you have any questions, or you want support, or you want someone to listen, just reach out to me on social media, or on my website. You can click on the Let's Chat button, and you can set up a time to talk. Thank you for watching, and thanks for being with me. This is something that we will be talking about. It's not a moment; it's a movement, and I'm part of the conversation. I hope you are too. I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care of yourselves, please. We need you. And this is going to be an amazing year, so stay tuned. There's more coming. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.